I went from just being a service-driven mindset to try and create value to now becoming a creator and a manager's mindset to how to create, how to manage, and how to sustain products and sustain value. So that was the concept I had, and that was what spurred on my growth. And I went from just being someone who was just trying to want to create value and serve people to now wanting to create, manage, preserve that value and being able to improve on that value. I believe that the power to success in life, right, always starts from the mind. If you believe you can achieve something, you would be able to achieve it, right? If you believe like, oh nah, you would have limitations, right? It's in the process of serving, right, that you find purpose, right? And it's in the process of actually doing something that you might find yourself or find that value you have been looking for, or that dream you feel like, I want to, live in that big house. How do you get there? Get your hands dirty, get to work, get something going. Create value, do something.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the My Tech Story Africa podcast. My name is Alice Kanjajo, your lovely host, and today's episode is a bit different because it's our very first virtual recording session. Today's guest is Donye, and you may not know this, but he is the founder of Rvysion Design Studio, and Rvysion is actually the company that's been helping me build out my website for the past couple of months, and it is finally here, and I'm very excited to share it with you guys. They have done a phenomenal job, but before we even share that, I thought it was important for us to feature Collins' story now. Just a bit of background on what Rvysion is. It is a remote-first design studio that is primed to help startups succeed. They offer solutions that are tailored towards design, development, branding, and taking ideas from concepts to market. So without further ado, we'll get onto the call with Donye in a bit, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. A call for you to subscribe if you haven't already, from wherever you're listening from, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, or any of the major listening platforms, and a chance for you to also check out My Tech Story Africa at www.mtsafrica.co. Hello, everyone. So right now on the call with me, I have Collins, who I have been telling you about, but I'm going to give him the opportunity to introduce himself. So Collins, hi, welcome on the podcast, and feel free to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi everyone, my name is Collins. I am a product designer, I'm a design manager, I'm a founder, and I run Rvysion Studios. It's actually Rvysion Group, and then Rvysion Studios is a subset of Rvysion Group. So Rvysion Group is a venture startup platform. We build our own products. So I don't know if I should just jump into talking about my entire tech career or something, but yeah, that's who I am, man.
Yeah, no, that's a good brief overview. We'll get a lot more about your story as we go along on the call. Okay, so then you've mentioned that now you are the founder of Rvysion Studio, amongst other things that you've done throughout your career. I think you can walk us through the journey. Where did your interest in tech or design begin? Is it something you always knew you were going to do? Walk us through.
My tech career began, I would say I've always had this desire, right, to want to create and build stuff, and that has always been my energy as a kid, and I was always on the move, right? So from going about making my own toys when I was a child. So my parents were a bit well-to-do, so I could afford toys, but then I would dismantle them and then try to build something else with it. And it's always been really crazy. I used to make I watch a lot of medieval movies where they fight with sword and bow and arrow. So I would go around the back of the house and then I'll carve my own swords and then bow and arrows, and then my dad would chase me around saying you're going to injure yourself. So I've always had this building mindset, like just playing around and building things. So all of that energy got me asking my dad to always, buy me gadgets because I enjoyed also dismantling gadgets. So my dad got me a laptop, and then, having that laptop as a child all the way from about 7 years old, I got the first laptop, and all of that changed for me. It was a lot of excitement and anxiety, and I was just faced with so much possibilities. I started playing around. I didn't know when I was playing around with CorelDRAW and Photoshop. I was just, just getting my hands dirty and just trying to build some really nice things. And all of that led me into my dad pushing me to a cyber training school where I saw other people doing amazing things. I was just like, damn, like this is crazy. And then I started learning how these guys were doing them by just watching and just trying to get my hands dirty as well. And all of that experience shaped my mindset to see the possibilities that were like happening in the world. And then when I got to school, in university, I saw opportunities to apply that. So I became a little entrepreneur. So I was doing, digital flyers for people on their birthdays, on Valentine days, and for our lecturers, I was doing stuff that they could send over to their kids for their birthdays as well. So all of that experience, I was making a little money for myself, and that prompted me to start doing websites too for people, and I was getting paid from that, and then that also like made my mind go wild, like, oh wow, so I could do things like this. And I started realizing that I was solving monetary problems for myself by creating value, and I became intrigued by that. So I started teaching more people too how to do certain things, and so also recreate that value for themselves. And all of that led me to get my first gig while I was in school. I was interning, and from there, just being one company to the other, one startup or one service company. Had the opportunity to work with companies like Atliance, where I was managing about 16 designers at the time. I did that for over like 3 years. So it's just been really, really amazing for me. But yeah. That's my entire career in summary and how I led to Rvysion.
Okay, so it's really interesting to see that you always sort of had a keen eye for design and building. You had mentioned, I think I want to get a bit more detailed into some of the things that you mentioned, bypassing, and the first one being, okay, you had this, your dad pushed you into doing this cyber course, and at what period of time was this? Was this before uni that you were doing this? And was this something that a lot of people around you were doing, or was this sort of unique to you?
So this was way before uni. I was 10. So I got my first laptop at 7, and then I started the course around 10. So I was going into secondary school in our time. So and yeah, it was not exactly a course. These centers where you go to like print and photocopy stuff. So we have that in Nigeria, right? So and that's how so I got in there, and I just saw people like people would come pay to get access to internet at that time. People would also like pay to photocopy stuff. So and then there was like this little center where the owner of the cyber cafe would teach some people how to like, oh, use this Word document or use that for like corporate trainings. So I would go in there and just spend like the entire day, and my dad would be like, oh yeah, just make sure my son learns something and train my son. And then my dad would just give the person a little cash and be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll teach your son something. So then I would go on errands like, oh, help this person print this, help this person make this edit, help this person do this. So I was learning on the job, more like, so I called it a training, right? So yeah, that was how it was for me.
Okay, and would you say that was one of the strong foundations of you sort of really getting into computers?
Yeah, it helped open my mind up, because I was just a kid just playing around with systems. I didn't know what I was doing. I was breaking, downloading a lot of things with virus. I was just being crazy on the laptop, right? So going there helped me see how people used systems and the amazing things they were able to create with systems. So it transitioned my mind from having to create with my physical hands to now using my hands on the digital software to create something different. And then being able to like translate that to paper, see my design on like a wedding card or a digital flyer being brought into a physical flyer. All those things opened my mind to seeing like amazing things, and then maybe playing around with little animation and just doing things. I was just like, wow, so I could do this. Then using Dreamweaver for like websites and WordPress, I was just like, oh my god, like this is possible. Like damn, I can put my picture on like the internet and just host it on the website and have my portfolio. So all of that just opened my mind to amazing things.
And that was during the time period between post high school and uni, around that time. I want you to also acknowledge how unique that is, because a lot of people in university, I mean, they do sort of have an idea of, okay, I guess I'm going to do software engineering, but they're not playing around creating their little websites like you're describing. And So just for anyone who's listening out there who's in university or is in high school, it's like the time to start is as way back when, because the things that you learn are essentially the foundation to what you might become, even if you're not specific about it earlier on. And what course were you doing in uni at this time?
I studied computer science. So
You studied computer science, okay. Very in line with what you were doing. Okay. So this, you also mentioned getting an opportunity while you were in uni. So walk me through that period as well.
So it was, those little things I was doing for people, right? Like helping them set up, birthday cards, helping them, trying to maybe create an e-commerce website for them. So these things help people more like refer me to more people. And in terms of referrals, that helped me land a gig. So someone reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Collins, I heard you do this stuff. Would you be open for an internship?" And yeah, that led me to the internship I got. And then I worked for a design studio at that time, WordPress design studio. So it was quite an intense experience for me. So yeah, I was doing that while also schooling. So it was like part-time job and then going to school as well.
And so you were doing both the design studio while you were working in uni. At what year is this that you're doing this?
This was in 2015, between
Sorry,
2015 and 2018.
okay. I was more or less asking what year of uni out of the 4 years.
Oh yeah, no, from the very from the end of sorry, from the end of first year, that was when I got the job, right? So
That's very early on for you to be having a job at a design studio.
really, nah.
Or
For me, I really didn't like school that much because I felt like there was so much I could be doing, right, than being in school because I was an average, smart person. So I basically had, I was having back and forth with my lecturers in certain like principles and things being taught about. So I was a little bit ahead of my class from me, and I was, doing tutorials for students and stuff. So I felt a bit bored with school. So I was like, I needed something to simulate my
you
mind.
needed something to,
Yeah.
challenge you because you were already.
So, and it was just like reading every day, going to class. It was just a routine that I didn't enjoy. So I needed something else to just give me that spark, after school sessions, what can I be doing? So that was what, led me to, doing other things. And when, I wasn't doing anything digital, I was, making, shawarma, selling shawarma to my peers. So
That is a very big side note that you've just added right there. What do you mean that if you were not creating something digitally, you were selling shawarmas? Or was that just a survival tactic for uni?
yeah, so you can't always put your eggs in one basket. So if tech wasn't bringing money at that time, or I needed to do something I could fall back to. So at that time, I was a chef assistant before I got into school. My sister was a chef, so I used to assist her a lot. In all the gigs she goes for and the restaurant she was working in, and her own little business she had. So that taught me a bit of cooking skills. So I then learned how to make shawarma. I learned how to make a bunch of different pastries, and then when when I was in school, I was just like, "Hey guys, what's up? Are you hungry? Yeah, for 5K, I'll do this for you. For 1K, I'll do this for you." So then I'll go and just make
Oh
shawarma
my
and then start
God.
selling. And yeah, people liked it. So every Saturday and Sunday, that was the role for me.
That I find that so intriguing that if it wasn't gonna be tech, it was going to be hospitality and not just you were really good at
Yeah.
this shawarma business. I'm guessing that it was booming while you were coding your way through uni. So I really like that contrast. And then what happens? Okay, you're in this job opportunity, but at that time when you were doing this sort of training in the design studio, did you start thinking already, okay, I'm gonna do something similar to this for myself? Or what were you thinking about that time? What career growth would look like for you?
Interesting question actually. So in terms of career growth, so back then I was more curious than thinking about the future for me. So I being exposed to tech from very early on stage, and it allowed me to explore the world. So for my little country, I could see what other people were doing in the United States or in Europe, I could see like people at my age or people a bit older than me or people way more older. So it was intriguing for me. I just wanted to be part of something. I wanted to be part of, I just wanted to have my name be, oh, I designed that, right? Or someone is using this product, right? And they're smiling about it and they're happy using that product, right? They have a problem being solved. So I wanted to be part of that story. So as much as I was trying to simulate my mind, right, I was really curious to trying to solve problems. So I first of all had this mindset of, oh, I've been, just basically playing around for so long, right? And I grew that desire to like want to help in a way while also trying to simulate my mind. So being in that studio, it allowed me to see opportunities to help more people and help on a large scale. So it was more like just do this work and then the company is going to push it out to to thousands of people and somebody's going to use it and then coming back to get feedback like, oh, here's the feedback for this product to design, and I'm like, oh, nice, people like this. Oh, there's a way I can improve it. Like yeah. So that curiosity was just where my head was at that time, and it just put me in that position where seeing all of this happen, I was like, wow, that was just it, man. I didn't think about the future at that time, but as I progressed more,
You're thinking
being
about
in
the
that space,
impact.
yeah, like the impact was just what was driving me, and that curiosity to seeing what I could achieve at that space, and all of that led me to the point where my growth kicked off when I realized that wow, you could do so much more, right? By adding more skills to what you already knew. So I started learning more things, and with the process and how I was learning, more desire and curiosity came. Like, oh, so if I could do design, what of development? What of, what of marketing? What of content creation? What of? So I started like, picking up little skills in these little places, and that developed my business mindset, and that made me, create wanting to build something of my own. But then, what do I know, right? I had little to, experience in leading a business. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend the next few years just picking up experiences, right? Watching closely how people manage and build products and how people build startups and how people build companies and build solutions. So I went from just being a service-driven mindset to try and create value to now becoming a creator and a manager's mindset to how to create, how to manage, and how to sustain products and sustain value. So that was the concept I had, and that was what spurred on my growth. And I went from just being someone who was just trying to want to create value and serve people to now wanting to create, manage, preserve that value, and being able to improve on that value. So yeah, and then I left the studio, and then I went on to work for other companies. And then in that process of working for other companies, I was doing freelance on the side, and building stuff for people and helping them manage stuff, like do product management for one of my clients, help them with marketing, help them, see end to end. So that was giving me little experience. So it was more like work for a company, learn how they do things, and implement on your own for someone. So yeah.
I really like everything that you've just mentioned about, okay, understanding that if I was going to start a business, working backwards to thinking, okay, how are we going, if we're going to do this, then how are we going to change the mindset from, I mean, one, diversify the list of things that you're going to be able, your skill set rather, and then aside from diversifying your skill set, modifying your thinking, and okay, if I was going to get into management, then how do you do that successfully, and then moving towards sustainability of essentially the business that you create. I think that's very important advice for anyone who's looking to start that something similar. But I'm curious to also just ask you, mentioning, okay, trying your hand in all these different skills that could essentially make you successful enough to build what you have today. How did you manage to get into those doors to be able to have access to some of these other things? I know you mentioned, okay, yes, you have this training on UI UX design, which is great, which is the foundation of what your experience is. But then you've also mentioned having a play in marketing and helping clients sort of do that product management. I think sometimes people getting into tech, maybe you might think maybe design is what is meant for me and this is what I want to do, but you realize a lot of designers are now feeling the need to sort of learn a bit of code, learn how to do a bit of back end stuff as well. So what's the what's the interconnectivity of each of them, and two, how did you manage to give yourself spaces for those opportunities?
So for me, everything always start with with mindset, right? So it's something I've been I believe that the power to success in life, right, always starts from the mind. If you believe you can achieve something, you would be able to achieve it, right? If you believe like, oh nah, you would have limitations, right? So being able to break those barriers was always something I had in my head. So I always believed that I was Superman. I could do anything I set my mind to. So that put me in that position where my dad always told me, whatever situation you find yourself, right, always find opportunities where you can leverage. And I always ask him, what do you mean leverage, right? And then he would tell me, you realize that water has many use cases, right? So it is today you're drinking water to sustain yourself. Tomorrow, water can be used to, to cook certain meals, right? Water can be used for certain other use cases, right? Maybe in for swimming, right? For different things. And in my head, I was like, if you apply that to the human case, you can be in a company and you're offering a value of design, right? Design can be used in different ways. It's the same way you have the limitless capacity to be able to offer other values. So it's all about being able to put your mind in that position to create the right time, right? To see opportunities to leverage. So I started thinking about, my work that way. So now I'm doing design today, and I realized the product manager comes to me for certain design tasks. A marketer will come to me, a developer will come to me. So in those process of interacting with these guys, I could ask certain questions about their work. How do they do certain things? How do they make certain decisions? How do they interact with other teams? So I started to note down these things, pick up a little bit of traits from them. I was spending like maybe an entire week with the marketers or entire week of customer support, right? And then I would see how they have conversations with users on different products. And I was just like doing these things, right, in my free time. So it was more about getting my tasks done and trying to use the other times I had to just learn from these people. So that sparked this, desire to always be curious again. And from learning all these little things, I decided to further my own personal skill. So on the weekends, when I had a more sustainable career at that time, I would start picking up, more courses, self-taught courses, and just, learn something. And the moment I was done, maybe taking a product management course, I didn't see how I can, ask questions with those at work, and then take that into, the clients I was working with on the side on freelance projects, and I was implementing that, to cement the knowledge I had. So that was how I kept on, racking up more skills and, using that experience and using the people I had access to, leveraging their own experiences, to use to build my own experience and then practice it for someone else, to, systemize that experience and then make it a foundation. And then, yeah, I just kept repeating the same system. And that system is what helped me up to this point where you can give me a problem that I don't know how to solve, but I could tell you by the end of the day, I will come up with a temporary solution to it, and maybe in 3 days' time, I'll come up with a permanent solution, and then I'll go on to build that solution, even without having little to no knowledge about it. And it's all about being able to leverage, right? Is why we are in a technological-driven system where the internet has given us access to almost everything. You today can be a data analyst, right? Even having no information about data analyst, right? You can be one in 3 months' time. That's what information has done for us. So leverage people's information, right? Also helped me a lot, and yeah, that was how I was able to pick up these traits, and I got access to more people to practice them by leveraging the network I had. So in the process of getting people, so it started with people at work, right? So all those questions I would ask, how you do this, how do you do that, what is your mindset, how do you think? It helped me to try to ask more questions like, oh, do you know anyone who needs an app or needs a design outside of work or needs someone to do this outside of work? I'm trying to practice what I know, and they would be like, oh yeah, I know someone, and then that created a chain of referrals for me, and that was what I leveraged, and yeah, that was how I was able to build on these skills.
I think just to add on to what you're saying, I always categorize it into three ways when I'm looking for solutions, right? One, the answer is not it's never no. Like if someone asks you, are you able to do this? Are you able to? It's never no. You ask yourself three questions. So the first one is, can I find it on the internet?
Exactly.
You're most likely going to be able to find this answer to the solutions you're looking for on the internet. If it's a template for an Excel sheet that you need, you're probably going to be able to find that. If it's something on ChatGPT, on cloud, all the LLMs are very helpful these days. Is it on the internet? The second thing is, okay, great, it's on the internet. Can I do it? And if you're able to do it, even if it's not your field, like you say, and there's always like an interconnection, right? Like what you say, like for someone who works in marketing, and maybe I have a bit of background in doing simple graphics on Canva, but if I get a client who wants to get UI UX design and I just need to change to Figma, the principles are the same. It's just now figuring out the nitty gritties. Exactly. So can I do it? If it's something almost similar, then yes, I'm gonna do it. If I can't do it, then three, do I know someone who can? Because that's the networking is very important regardless of whatever field that you're in. And if you're not able to do it and you know this is an essential part of a piece of the puzzle in your business. For example, I'm not a coder, but it's very important for me as someone in the tech space to know people who are engineers, software engineers, so that when that time comes, then I'm able to have access to those people. So yeah, I love the explanation that you gave on the interconnectivity and the importance of being curious and asking the right questions to the right people always, and taking that initiative. So now you're gathering all these skills and you have different clients doing all these integrations. Walk me through that light bulb moment when you are like, I think it's time for me to start this studio or revision for myself, and how that journey has been. But before we get into how that journey has been building Rvysion, like what was that moment you said you were going to start, and how was that beginning like essentially? I want to know, or tell our audience that struggle of when you decide to start a business and actually starting the business.
Another interesting question. When was the life? When was the life part moment for me? Well, so being someone who, like I mentioned in my story, how I was a kid and was always like building toys and dismantling toys and stuff. When it got to the point where I enjoyed it really. It's been 6 years working for startups and service companies. It's been amazing. So on the fourth year of that journey, I realized I started to have more responsibilities, right? I became a manager quite early on in my career, learning management skills because of my curiosity and how it drove me there. So from being a senior designer to being that, I realized I was losing a lot of time. I wasn't having time available to me anymore. And then I started to, sometimes my weekends was slipping into work. So, and then being someone who always wants to build something, I was having little problems in terms of, things I do in day-to-day job, that I realized I had a notepad where when I experience these problems, I just write them down. And for fun, later on, I'll just go and, think about a solution for it, and then see if someone else has built it, and then see what the viability of the idea was. So while doing that, I realized I had like a 10-page book already filled with problems and solutions, and I didn't have enough time to build it, right? I didn't have, my friends were all busy. There was no, I couldn't just go and say, oh, hey guys, who wants to help me build this? Like, obviously, nobody's going to leave their day-to-day job and do that for you. So it required me thinking about how to approach that, because someone who likes to build should build, right? The moment you get that desire, you should. Even if it doesn't, the beauty of side projects, right, is the ability to explore, right, without the pressure of money, right? So it's explore and create value. And in that creative value, most times is that side project that ends up becoming the best ones, that ends up becoming, of monetary value. So in my head, I was like, damn, how am I going to solve this problem, right? So I realized I then had a problem in itself, right, which was lack of time and the desire to solve something. So how did I go about it? So I decided, you know what, how painful was this problem for me? So it was quite a lot for me. So I said, you know what, I love to take risk, right? So let's place a bet. It's like, so I'm earning this amount. what if, just what if, maybe take like 30% of this and just get like, maybe a developer, a designer, and like come together. I share the ideas, pay them, and then they build it. I was like, let me give it a try, right? So I did it. And then the first one was quite cool. But then that was a lot of risk, right? For something that I didn't know if it was going to have any long-term, value or something for people. It was basically me trying to solve problems I had and building solutions. So I went ahead and I was just like, saying, okay, let me optimize that instead of, wasting money. I decided to then go back to people I was mentoring. And then for people I mentored into tech, and then they needed something to work on. So I would give them this, solutions to build. Yeah, and then they were building it, and I was like, oh, cool, right? And then we all would use it. And I saw the desire these guys were having. So I was like, oh, you know what? These guys are going to be the first people I hire. So I couldn't let
Sorry,
them
I
work for
think you
free.
missed to mention that you were doing mentorship as one of the things, and you had this team of people you were mentoring who
Yeah,
were the
I
first
did.
people to do this startup with you. Could you just tell me a bit more about that? Like how long you were doing this mentorship for? Was it a particular program or was it just individually?
Okay, so I started mentoring like when I think that was the second year of my career, right? Oh no, it actually started in university, right? I was teaching people how to do things I knew, so I just went ahead and continued that. And then in the second year of my tech career, I made it official. So I had a group of people I was mentoring. So people would request for mentorship, and then I would just that close knit of group was just where I would teach as much as I knew, and that continued all the way till last year before I disbanded the group and everybody went to have their jobs. Some opened their own mentorship platform, schools, and people went on to do different things. So yeah, I'm no longer accepting mentees at the moment. But
Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, he's not taking any new people.
yeah, but yeah, that was then. But in the nearest future, I do plan on opening my own community, like a private
I
community
love
where
that.
you could come in and get access to me and a bunch of knowledge and my friends too as well. So, but yeah, that was all that mentorship I was doing. I didn't just want to just have these guys do free work, right? So I would pay them a little money to do stuff, and then I made a vow to myself like I'm gonna hire these guys when I start my company. So all of that then got me to the point where I realized that it was time for me to, find a way to balance things, right? So I left the job I had at that time and got a job where I feel like I was going to have a little bit of more, um, you know, an easy life, right? I was working for very fast-paced startups. It was crazy. So I decided, to work for a product company and just, have it a bit more easier. So I did that, and I then had a little bit of time. So that time I started building up solutions, right? And then from building those solutions, I realized I had a bunch of freelance clients. I was like, I think I need to incorporate this, make it official, right? Because I can manage so much projects. I've mentored people and created value for them. I feel like I could add extra value to them. So I hired those guys I mentored, and then they became the first set of people I had in Rvysion. So I then realized Rvysion was more than a studio, right? Why build out other ideas and just incorporate multiple companies? So I then incorporated Rvysion as a venture studio. So then the design studio became one side. Then all the other products I was building and solutions, became different companies under Rvysion Group. So yeah, and that was how the journey just played around, and it wasn't exactly planned. It was more like I just had problems I needed to solve, and I had people around, and then I leveraged their time, and then paid them for it. And then I realized I also had freelance clients coming in. So I was like, you know what? Let's just make everything one big cohesive, company. And then that was how Rvysion came to life, and how I navigated my career shifts from being super busy, recognizing I had so much I needed to do. It was not a thing of I just wanted to build or I wanted to start a company or anything. I just wanted to solve the problems I was experiencing, and it was in the process of trying to create those value, one for myself and for people, that Rvysion came to life, right? And that's how I see things. You don't necessarily. So I'm a Christian for one, and the Bible will tell me it's in the process of serving, right, that you find purpose, right, and it's in the process of actually doing something that you might find yourself or find that value you have been looking for, or that dream you feel like I want to live in that big house. How do you get there? Get your hands dirty, get to work, get something going. Create value, do something. But yeah, that was how everything played out for me.
I think there's a couple of things that I've picked up just based on what you've just shared with us. The first one being, you've mentioned that if you get the urge to build or do something, just do it, not necessarily having the clear path of how it's going to be or what the outcome is going to be, but just being prepared for when the time comes, when you're eventually going to do something. So with regards to your journey, from the time you were in high school, it just feels you've been very consistent in trying to make incremental steps forward towards the growth of yourself, and your personal career. And two is the common saying of, if you, I don't know, maybe you can help me what the saying is. If you want to go far, go with others. If you want to go fast, go alone. So the reason why that comes to mind is it just feels like throughout the process of you learning and being curious, you sort of were picking people along the way. That one, you are helping them with their own personal problems, or coming to you for mentorship, but also just trying to get your hands dirty in the different aspects. So always just being curious enough to engage with people, asking them the right questions, and not like just being kind to everyone and being curious about so many things in general. And finally, the piece that ties everything together is purpose, and doing something because it's solving a genuine problem that people are experiencing. And I think that is what people are in different ways trying to seek, in their own ways, or I would hope so, is that you're moving and then you're moving and then eventually you kind of get like a click moment. This is really what I want to do. Like, I want to be able to help people get to solve their problems through design solutions. I want to help people create awareness of this because of what I'm doing. And I think living a life, as you've said, of purpose helps you even just be able to come to your full light and sort of do the best that you can. So that was really, I applaud you for doing that and just hearing about your
Thank
journey
you.
so far.
But yeah, just like you now, you're creating value, with this podcast. So
I'm hoping, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, so that we can hear more stories like yours and everybody that you do have on this platform, for people to, one, know about the amazing products that are available by Africans, for Africans, or people across the world, and to know that this is something that you too can be able to pursue or do. It's not out of reach if you want to do certain things that people on this platform
it's really inspiring. So yeah, you deserve your round of applause, Alice.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so now we are at Rvysion. Tell us a lot more about, you've mentioned that you have different things under the Rvysion umbrella. Tell us a lot more about what you guys do, what you're looking forward to building, what you're up to, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. So Rvysion is a venture studio, right? And what we do is we basically build startups, right? We fund and then build startups of our own. All the way those startups can become standalone, businesses. So for one, we kicked off our flagship, startup, which is, we have a community as a service platform called mydesignwiz.com. So we are a designer-centric, startup studio. So we build a lot of designer-centric platforms for designers, for companies to solve design problems and around product solution problems. So mydesignwiz.com is a platform that is basically community as a service driven. So think of it as a place where I needed to solve a chicken and egg problem, right? In Africa, for say, we have very untapped, talents, right, that were not being shown to the world. So I thought of a way to be able to build a solution where we can see these talents, right, in their natural environments where they can feel like a home for these, designers, these talents to just be them, show their work, show their process, show, how they're, building things, what they're building, and then bring the people who need these services to them. So we build a platform where they could come in, post, share their work, create reminders to remind them, to build consistency in terms of, sharing work, because one of the issues we experience in Africa is visibility, right? We build amazing products, we have amazing talents, but we lack that visibility that that Europeans or foreigners do have. So I wanted to help solve that visibility problem. So why not just build one place where we can host a bunch of resources that can help people in their different spheres in their careers, right? And then also being able to show and share the work that they're building and help these creatives being able to stay consistent in consistently showing these things. And then instead of having to spread their work across multiple platforms and lose track or get overwhelmed with so much that they need to do, because it's one thing to have your day-to-day job, it's another thing to manage your personal brand, it's another thing to try to get your new job or get your next job, right? So this solution basically helped these guys share the work on one platform and spread it out to different social media platforms. So it's like Buffer, Twitter, and a design community called Dribble. It's like all these three platforms coming together to build one, and then that's like solving the problems for the creatives. Then for people who need contract or part-time or full-time or freelance creatives, you, for instance, could come in there and just make a request that you need a designer, and you have like your own dashboard where you could manage a designer, you could manage a creative or a developer if you need one, and you could just get very good recommendations, right, of people. Chat any one of them up, see their work, see their rates, see who you feel like you want to hire. This and then all of this is free to use, right? And then you come in there. When you find one, you can pay them through the platform, so you don't have to bother about that hassle of sending money, invoice payments, and a bunch of managing different things. You can manage your project on the platform as well, or connect the platform to your project management tools, and just being able to do all of this in one platform. So all of that is basically what we are doing at My Design Wiz. So it's an amazing platform. Check it out if you're looking to hire. We are launching we're doing public beta, so we're going to do full launch this month, and then the client side will be completely ready for launch next year, first quarter. But yeah, it's been amazing. We currently have about 300 plus beta users in the platform at the moment, and all of that has been profitable for us. So we actually found product market fit, and we have people actually paying for the product. So it's actually quite impressive and crazy. And so that's what Design Wiz does at the moment. So second platform we have is called Reina UI, and so it's like a component library. It's basically built to help teams being able to just, if you want to build a website, for instance, you can just go in there, just pull this component, pull this design, pull this, and just like building blocks, and you just have it ready, and then you can like ship it off to. We actually built your website using that product. So yeah.
You guys can check it out. The website is up officially. By the time this episode is out, the website is up. So if they're listening, they can go and check it out right now.
But yeah, so it's currently hosted on Figma, but we are building out. We did that for the MVP. So the product itself is going to be out next year. Is like a drag and drop builder solution. So for those who have little to design knowledge, right, they could just easily go in there, put one or two things together, or chat up the AI and have the AI, arrange all these components together for you, and you can easily send an invite to your developer to come check it out, or your designer or anybody, and you just easily ship it out. So it's a solution built for non-technical, founders, talents, and PMs or marketers, for people who want to be able to easily make edits to designs, right? So that's Reina UI. Then the last one is a marketplace. Is called OneDraft.design. It's basically a solution for founders who can't afford, to maybe afford a designer, or they want to maybe get their hands a bit dirty, and they want to be able to build, no code solutions like websites and stuff that they need to easily, quickly ship out. So they can go in there, just find a template that suits their needs, download it with actual guides that helps them, build it on Framer, and then soon we're adding Webflow components to it. So you can go in there, you can find components. It's similar to Reina UI, but in this case, this is built for no-code solutions. But yeah, those are the three products we have. Then the last one will be Rvysion Studio itself, which is the design studio where we service clients. That's the studio that helps you handle your website. So that's 4 different teams in the 4 different mini teams, and all building different products. And yeah, it's amazing.
Lovely to hear the progress that you've made building out Rvysion and having the different teams working on different things. That's actually, I think I've had different interactions actually with. We actually had Alison Ayo, who was a guest on this podcast as well earlier on in the year, and she came to represent Reina UI, and it was an amazing episode. And so that is essentially where this relationship sort of began, because when you were in Nairobi as well, Alison is the one who also introduced us. So and I think that's how connections work, right? That's even essentially how I ended up finding out more and more and learning about the design studio that you have going on, and that's what we partner on with when we work together at Honeycoin. All that to say, I have interacted with your different products in different settings, and each of them have been amazing. So really good to hear just the backstory of how they came to be. As you've heard, Rvysion has been the team responsible for giving our website a brand new look and feel. I did want to do a website revamp, and I knew to look no further because of the interactions that I mentioned that I've been having over the years with Collins and members of the Rvysion team. So I am super happy with how my website has turned out. And actually, maybe Collins, you can tell us how people can get access to you or your services. Is there a contact we should know about? How can people get access to your services? What are any information you can give us?
Well, you could find me on, for instance, if you want to reach out to me personally, you can find me on Collins Donye on Twitter, or Collins Donye on LinkedIn. Then for Rvysion Studios, you can find us on wearerevision.com, or you can find us at Rvysion Studio, rvysionstudio.com. So spelled with RVYSION studio.com. Or second website is RVYSOIN.com.
One thing that I failed to mention is I've actually been documenting the entire process of my work with the Rvysion team. So if you want to keep tabs on that to just see, or if you're even curious to know how to build a website in the first place, just on a strategy level, then be sure to subscribe to this channel, and you will get all the good stuff about how we brought the ideas and the visions that I had to life. So thank you so much, Collins, for gracing our podcast with your presence, and we shall keep in touch with you and your journey, and any of the important links that you've just mentioned. Of course, we're going to leave them in the description as well. So yeah, anything else you want to tell our audience before we close off the episode?
Actually, just do you enjoy life, build stuff, solve problems, create value. Feel free, man. Like, life is short, so do that thing you always wanted to do. But yeah, stay safe, guys. It's amazing being here. And Alice, you're the woman, man. Like, you're good. Yeah, I love this. I love the value you create. Thank you so much for doing this and having this podcast, having this amazing platform. And yeah, I personally listen. So I listen to your episodes, and yeah, I enjoy the conversation. So thank you. We're definitely gaining a lot of value. Your biggest fan right here, so please send me a merch, at the end of the year as your biggest fan.
I'll send you some merch. I'll send you a bit of merch.
Right.
No, I'll give you merch when you come back to Nairobi.
I see.
That's a fair trade.
I see. All right, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much as well, Collins, and have a good rest of your day back in Lagos. And yeah, we'll keep in touch.
You too.
And for everybody who is listening, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode, and we shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.